Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Eric Miner, a leading SMMA agency client fulfillment expert. And today we are going to be covering one of the most critical junctures when it comes to digital marketing, which is the conversion level of every marketing journey. So when you talk about the conversion, we know, if you remember the digital marketing process, we have users coming across your ads, interacting with the ads, coming to your landing page or your conversion where you want the conversion to take place, and then them giving in the information that you require. If you're in the e-commerce space, the conversion could be users actually buying your product. If you're in the lead generation space, that could be actually having the client give you the information. There are multiple types of conversions, but you're going to be focusing primarily on the performance-based kind of conversions, which is either e-commerce or lead generation. Today, we are going to be focusing on lead gen campaigns, and you're going to be looking at the two versions of conversion levels that you can have, especially if you're using the Meta platform. So on one hand, Meta allows you to collect information innately within the platform by using their Facebook lead form, but you may choose to use an external landing page, for example, using the third-party platform such as WordPress or Go High Level, where you're able to create a customized landing page. So the question is, which one do you end up opting for? So to have a look at the Facebook side, this is a typical Facebook ad, and you have the information being presented regarding the company and whatever the offer is, but we have the call to action button. In this case, it's learn more. What will happen when you're using the Facebook lead form is if you click on the button, or if your user clicks on the button, it's going to populate, or it's going to lead to a pop-up where they're able to fill in a number of questions. The information is also going to be preloaded on the form itself, and then they're able to submit this information to you as the advertiser. And what will tend to happen is you will have a third-party platform now picking that information from Facebook and then sending it to your ideal client. The other option, which is using an external landing page, is where this is just a sample landing page where you're able to create and customize a very unique landing page with the offer and the information that you want. You're going to have a form that's going to collect the information that you require. This is typically the name, the email, the phone number, and a few pre-qualifying questions depending on what product or service you're offering. And then you're also going to be able to now customize it and add additional information for you to properly convince the users to submit the information. So what you're looking at is, if you're in the if you're in the service industry and your primary mode of deliveries or your primary product is lead generation, which of these two options do you want to work with? Should you use the Facebook lead form, or do you use an external landing page? So there we're going to look at the different advantages and disadvantages associated with both. Like we mentioned, the Facebook lead form is innately generated within the platform. So you never have to leave the Facebook ecosystem or the Meta ecosystem. Whether you're running the ad on Facebook or Instagram, the users, that whenever they come across it, the form will still populate. And there are basic advantages and disadvantages of using both of these, either of these options. So looking at the Meta side, where you're using the Facebook lead form, the first thing is the simplicity of setup. That's the biggest advantage when it comes to this form. It's extremely simple for you to do this. Using a quick YouTube video, you're able to see the process for doing this. You're able to set up the different questions associated with the page, and bang, you have your product up and running. The second biggest advantage of using the Facebook lead form is the cost per lead is going to be extremely low. Now, that part of the reason for this is, one, the users don't have to leave the platform, which again the platform loves, because they always try to encourage users to remain within their ecosystem as opposed to them leaving to go to a third party. The second advantage of this is the product actually allows you, which is now our third advantage of this. The form allows you to have pre-filled information. So whenever someone is setting up their Facebook account, you're going to have their Facebook name, contact information, which is their phone number and their email. Ideally, they will have verified that information. So whenever they're filling in the Facebook lead form, this information is going to be pre-filled. This information tends to come in the second stage. So the first stage of the Meta platform, the Meta lead form, is going to be, you have a number of pre-qualifying questions that you will set up. But then when they go to the next stage, depending on what you are requiring from them, it's going to auto-populate that information. Now, what are some of the disadvantages of using the lead form? Due to the number of people who are able to fill in the form, um, and due to the, of course, lower cost per lead, the problem is you're going to have a lot of unqualified people filling in this form. And this is going to be the biggest disadvantage you'll have to face whenever you're having to deal with your customer, because you're having so many users filling in the information, but then when it comes to actually reaching out to those users, the contact rate is going to be quite low. And the reason for this is, again, based on the fact that there is a lot of pre-filled information. Now, when users are coming up into Facebook, a lot of the users set up their Facebook accounts very early on. And some of the information that they use to set up the account is no longer, they either no longer use that phone number, that email is actually dead. So that pre-filled information tends to actually be a huge disadvantage as well. Now, the second problem is going to be, these users are going to say, you know what, I don't remember actively filling in this form. I don't have an interest in the product. And yet the information has been set up, which means by either they did a few days ago, but they actually sent in the information themselves. So what this does is, what this means is, you need to get your client to reach out to these customers as quickly as possible. So the time to lead needs to be extremely low. If someone fills in that form within 3 to 4 hours, they need to have been reached out to, contacted. Hey, you filled the form on Facebook. How can we assist? You showed interest in this product. Because if you're reaching out 3 days from now, what's going to happen is they're going to be like, I do not remember ever filling in this information. Now, the second disadvantage of using the lead form is that uh, there's a lot of limitations in terms of what information you can collect. What this is apart from the questions which you can add as part of the pre-qualifications, and again, there's a limitation to how many questions you can add, simply because the more the questions you add, the fewer the users who are going to fill in. So you need to strike you have to find a very nice balance between the two of them. But you're also limited in terms of what you can customize on the form. So as we mentioned, the form is preset by Facebook. You have a limited number of characters that you can use, very limited in terms of the imagery of whatever you're going to have. It's either you set up a preset image or have the image associated with the ad that you've been running. But apart from that, there's nothing more you can customize. You can't customize the look and feel for it. You can't customize the flow of the information. You are very limited in terms of what you can do. But the worst, or what I consider the worst problem with the lead form, is you're not allowed to disqualify the users who are filling in the information. So a recent Facebook product update has tried to mitigate this problem, but it's not moving as smoothly as it could. And what I mean by this is, when, let's say, you want to disqualify a user based on the answer that they've given, that user will still be able to send the information across to you, and that will still count as a lead, which Facebook will still charge you for it. Now, this is extremely disappointing, because you will have a lot of users who are not qualified for the product. Even if you try and scream what are the qualifications for the product are, these users are still going to be able to send in the information. Now, looking at the external landing page, like we said, this includes developing an external landing page where it's hosted on a different platform such as WordPress. For those of you who are using the Go High Level platform, which I highly recommend, you're able to create a landing page where you're able to set up everything within the Go High Level platform. The advantages of using an external landing page are very clear. The first is the lead quality is going to be much, much higher. And the reason for this is, if you think about the user journey, there's a lot more friction when a user is coming in from Facebook, filling in clicking on the button, taking the few seconds it takes for your page to load, and then consuming the information on that form or on that landing page, and actively filling in the form. Because of the amount of mental friction that they have to go through, by default, their lead quality is going to be higher, because their intent is actually higher as compared to what's happening on Facebook, where it's very easy for you to fill in the information without you requiring a lot of mental activity. Now, the second thing that the biggest advantage of using a custom landing page is how customizable it is. There are no limitations in terms of the questions you can put in, the information you want to put in, the copy that you want to put in, the design of the landing page itself, how everything sits on the page. And again, you're able to do a lot of A/B testing in order to find out which is the best landing page and what elements you can change to improve the conversion rate on that landing page. this is by far one of the biggest advantages. Now, because of the ability for you to because of, again, the friction level that it takes for users to fill in the information on the landing page, the contact rate is going to be better, right? Because again, these are users who are showing much higher intent levels than the previous ones on the Facebook lead form. But in addition to this, you're able to put in a phone number verification system on the third-party landing page. What I mean by this is, by using a one-time password, whenever someone fills in, autofills the phone number, or they put in their phone number, there are systems that you can put in place for it to be actually qualify that phone number by sending a one-time password to that phone number to verify it. And then once they put in the one-time password, that's when their information is going to be sent through to the client. What this does is, one, it drastically improves the contact rate for your customer, and it forces the users to be conscious about it, because again, you're putting your information consciously, and the fact that you have to actually double check and use the one-time password, you will probably have conceived the information, and so there's a lot more intent, right? Finally, one of the biggest advantages as well of using the landing page is your ability to disqualify leads. What do I mean by this? If you are using a survey form, for example, if you're on Go High level, you're using a survey form, there's the option of, if someone chooses a particular question, an answer to that particular question, and that person is disqualified. So let me give a quick example. You are offering loans, and your ideal customer is looking for a loan above $150,000. So when you have the survey form set up, one of the first questions can be, how much do you want as a loan? Do you have 0 to 100,000, 100,000 to 150,000, or 150,000 to 200,000, etc, etc. If a user chooses between 0 to 100,000, you know that that's not the kind of customer that you want to come through. So if they fill in that information and they click on go to the next question, it will actually send them to a different part of the survey form, telling them, hey, you actually don't qualify for our product, unfortunately, but thank you for taking time to fill this form. And then they are unable to go back in and fill the form, right? What that does is that it forces your customer to actually understand where they are at, and also forces your client to get leads that are way more qualified. Another advantage of this is, let's say, for example, there are users who are looking for 100,000 to 150,000, but we know our ideal customer is from 150,000 to above, but we don't want to lose this user who is sitting within the 100 to 150. So this one can also be led to a different categorization, and the information that they will be served with, it could be actually to still try and motivate them or get them to again qualify to 150, or maybe there's a different product that the client wants to use. So all of these customizations you don't get when you're using the Facebook lead form. Now, what are some of the disadvantages of using the landing page? One, the cost per lead is going to be drastically higher, because remember, as we said, as compared to the Facebook lead form, the friction level is much higher. The second thing you need to also constantly remember is you need to constantly check your conversion rate. The landing page design, the copy, the creative, the communication of it might not be as great as it could be, which means that the conversion rate will be affected. So you need to be constantly tweaking a few things here and there. The other thing that also adds to this is the drop of percentage of people who are clicking on the ad on Facebook, but they're not actually loading the page on the third-party platform. Sometimes this happens if your landing page has a lot of videos, or it's taking a lot of time to load. What you'll see is users will drop off. There's a small percentage, but depending on the association between these two platforms, you may lose people who never even get to see the product itself. Now, the last disadvantage, and this is probably the biggest challenge for most of us, is going to be the setup difficulty. Because in order to set up all of this, the third-party platform, set up the landing page, get the domain, connect the domain with the landing page, all of these things is much more technically, it's a much more technical item as compared to using the Facebook lead form. And so depending on what stage you are at, you need to make a decision of which of these two platforms you want to use. Do you want to use the Facebook platform? Do you want to use a unique landing page? Depending on the product that you are dealing with, the lead flow that you are getting, the cost per lead that the client is expecting or you've promised, you need to make a decision based off of this and what stage of your agency you're at. But the other thing is, you're not limited to either or. Depending on the client, depending on the situation that you're actually dealing with, you can have both of these. You can have a landing page set up, and then if the cost per lead is too high or the conversion rate is not great, you can actually move the client to a lead form and then play around with the questions that you have on the form in order to get a better lead quality, but still getting more numbers coming through. So you have to make a decision based on what situation you are facing. But if you require any assistance, again, feel free to hit me up and we can have a short consultation on the same. So I'll see you guys in the next video.